Hi, we're going to read a book to you called The Embassy of the Dead by Will Mabbitt. And we're going to read it chapter by chapter and have a discussion about it afterwards. We're very grateful to Will Mabbitt for allowing us to read this book and post it online. So, chapter 1, The Embassy of the Dead, Leave Your Life at the Door. Thanks. And chapter 1 is called The Corpse, 1 week earlier. There are some things in life and death that are certain. One of those things is that a man digging a hole in the dead of night is definitely up to no good. A lamp swung in the branches of a hawthorn tree, and the shadows of the headstones jumped around the overgrown graveyard. In the silence of the hour, each thrust of the shovel seemed loud enough to wake the dead that slept for eternity beneath the cold, hard earth. There was the unmistakable sound of metal scraping against wood. The huge man digging the hole grunted, straightened his back, and wiped a grimy hand across his sweaty, sloping brow. He looked up as another figure stepped from the shadows, carefully avoiding the patches of wet mud. This second man had done no digging. Even in the darkness, that fact was as clear as day. His sharply tailored suit was still in impeccable condition, unplucked by the prickles of the hawthorn trees and unsoiled by the fresh dirt that had been removed from the ground. The suited man watched as the remains of a partly rotted coffin was manhandled from the grave. Now it sat beside the hole. He leaned forward as his brutish accomplice began to crowbar the lid open, the damp wood separating easily from the rusty nails. A satisfied smile flickered across the suited man's face at the acrid stench of embalming fluid released from within. He reached inside and lifted the corpse's hand to the lamplight. He had found what he was looking for. "It is you," he whispered. "After all this time, it is really you." He looked at the corpse's withered and lifeless face, then reached out to brush a strand of black hair from a cold, grey forehead. "Your time has come at last." And that's the end of the first chapter. What do you think of it? Where's it set?
Well, it's set in a overgrown graveyard.
Yeah.
And it's definitely old because it says, well, for one, it's overgrown, and also the coffin is rotting and it has rusty nails.
Yeah. So what does that imply about where they're digging?
It hasn't been visited recently.
Yeah. So maybe the person they're digging up, they don't have anyone to care about them and come and visit them. Mm-hmm. They might have died a long time ago. Yeah. Why do you think they're digging at night?
Maybe because they're not allowed to dig. Well, maybe because they're doing something wrong.
It says that, doesn't it, at the beginning? It says that they're up to no good.
Yeah, and I also think they're treating it kind of like a living human being.
When they say, you mean at the end of the chapter?
When they speak to it.
When they speak to it, yeah. That's interesting, isn't it? Because it's kind of like it's in between life and death. And that maybe fits with the title, The Embassy of the Dead, that it implies that it's a kind of passageway between life and death. So do you think it's creepy and spooky?
Well, not yet, but I'm sure it will get creepy and spooky.
Yeah, let's hope so. It looks like the kind of creepy figure behind those two. So that should be fun. Great. Well, we'll look forward to reading the next chapter in the next video.